The Zephyrian Collective had ruled the stars for 3,000 years. 12 different alien species worked together in perfect harmony. They had built cities that floated in space and ships that could travel faster than light. War was something they had forgotten long ago. High Commander Vexithera stood on the bridge of the flagship, Eternal Peace. She was tall and thin, with blue skin that glowed softly in the dark. Her large black eyes stared at the data screens showing a small yellow star ahead. This star was different from others they had found. The planets around it were strange. "What do you see, Science Leader Mortek?" she asked. Her voice was calm and musical, like all Zephyrians. Mortek's tentacles moved over his control panel. He was from the Krillian species, one of the 12 in the collective. His green skin had patterns that changed color when he was excited. Right now the patterns were bright orange. "Commander, this system is very unusual. The third planet from the star is what we call a death world. Look at these readings." He pointed to his screen. The planet has storms that can destroy cities. The ground shakes and breaks apart. Mountains explode with fire. The air has poison gas. Ice covers huge parts of the land. The oceans are full of deadly creatures. Vexithara moved closer to look at the data. "How can anything live there?" "That is the strange part, Commander. We are picking up radio signals. Someone is alive down there, but they should not be. No intelligent life can survive on a death world. The conditions are too harsh." Another officer, Captain Zulmara from the Tecton species, floated over to them. Her body was like a jellyfish made of crystal. She spoke through vibrations in the air. Perhaps the signals are automatic. Old machines left behind by a dead civilization. Mortek shook his head, making his tentacles wave. "No, Captain. These signals are new. They change patterns. Someone is making them right now. But the signals are very primitive. Simple radio waves. Digital transmissions. No quantum entanglement. No subspace communication. These beings are maybe 200 or 300 years behind our technology." Vexithera walked to the large window that showed the star system ahead. "So we have found a species that somehow survived on a death world, but they are still very primitive. This is interesting. What are your orders, Commander?" asked Zulmara. "Send a message to the Collective Council. Tell them we have found a new species, a primitive one that lives on a death world. The Council will want to decide how to help these beings." The message was sent through subspace to the Collective's home systems. It traveled faster than light and reached the Council in only a few hours. The Council was made up of leaders from all 12 species. They met in a huge station that orbited a peaceful blue star. Council leader Hayron read the message. He was from the Valdorian species, very old and wise. His silver skin was covered with marks that showed his age and wisdom. Around him sat 11 other leaders, each from a different species. "Brothers and sisters," Hayron said in his deep voice. "Commander Vexithara has found something important. A new species that somehow lives on a death world. But they are very primitive. Much less advanced than us." "How primitive?" asked Council Member Thylas. "She was from the Nebulan species with skin like moving clouds. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They use simple radio and basic computers. No faster than light travel. No energy shields. No plasma weapons. They are like children playing with sticks and stones." The Council talked for many hours. Some wanted to study these beings from far away. Others wanted to help them become more advanced. But most agreed on one thing. These primitive Deathworlders were no threat to the mighty Collective. "I suggest we offer them our guidance," said Council Member Korthak from the Hegemony species. His red eyes glowed as he spoke. "We can teach them to be civilized. Show them how to live in peace like we do. Help them leave their terrible world and find better planets. But first they must accept our authority," added Council Member Vexilla from the Dominion species. Her forearms moved as she spoke. "We cannot help those who do not want to be helped. They must surrender to our wisdom." Hayron nodded slowly. "Yes, we will send a proper fleet to make contact. Not just one ship, but enough to show our power. They must understand that we are far beyond them. When they see our might, they will accept our offer to help them." The Council voted. All 12 species agreed. They would send 200 ships to the primitive death world. This would be enough to show the aliens that resistance was useless. The primitives would have to accept collective rule or be forced to accept it. Back on the flagship, Vexithera received the Council's orders. She was to gather a pacification fleet and travel to the Death World system. Her job was to make contact with the primitives and make them surrender peacefully. "Mortek, begin scanning their technology more carefully," she ordered. I want to know exactly what weapons they have. Mortek worked at his station for several hours. His tentacles moved quickly over the controls. Finally, he turned to the commander. Their technology is even more primitive than we thought. They still use chemical rockets to reach space. Their weapons shoot small metal pieces instead of energy beams. They have some atomic weapons, but very simple ones. Their ships are slow and clumsy. What about their military? Asked Captain Zulmara. Very basic. They seem to have many small armies instead of one big one. They fight each other often. No unity, no organization. They will not be able to work together against us. Vexithara smiled. This would be easy. Send word to all fleet commanders. Tell them to prepare their ships. We leave for the Deathworld in 3 days. Over the next 3 days, ships from all over collective space traveled to meet at the staging point. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels. Each ship was beautiful and advanced. Their hulls were made from materials that could heal themselves. Their shields could stop any attack the collective had ever seen. Their weapons could destroy entire moons. The aliens in the fleet were confident. They had never lost a battle because they had never needed to fight one. For 3,000 years, every species they met had joined the collective peacefully. Some needed a little persuasion, but none had ever been foolish enough to fight. Commander Vexithara stood on her bridge as the fleet prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. 200 ships formed perfect lines behind her flagship. Each ship glowed with the soft light of advanced technology. All ships report ready, Commander, announced Captain Zulmara. Begin the jump. Destination, the primitive Deathworld system. The space around the fleet began to bend and twist. Stars stretched into lines of light. Then, in a flash of brilliant energy, the entire collective fleet disappeared. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Far away, in the Sol system that humans called home, automated sensors detected the strange energy signature of faster-than-light travel. The readings were analyzed by powerful computers in hidden bases throughout the solar system. On Earth, in the deep bunkers of the United Earth Defense Command, alarms began to sound. Admiral Chen looked at the data streaming across her screens. She had been preparing for this day her entire life. Unknown fleet detected at the edge of the system. 200 ships. Technology unknown. All defense stations are ordered to battle readiness. Signal all fleet commanders. Execute Protocol 7. Across the solar system, ships that had been hiding in the shadows of asteroids and behind moons began to power up their weapons. Orbital defense platforms that looked like space junk revealed themselves as massive gun batteries. Hidden bases that had been silent for decades came online. The collective fleet arrived expecting to find helpless primitives. Instead, they were about to discover why humans were the apex predators of a death world, and why apex predators never forgot how to hunt. The collective fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Commander Vexithara felt proud as she looked at her 200 ships spread out in perfect formation. The primitive aliens on the third planet would see this display of power and surrender immediately. Open a communication channel to the Death World, she ordered. Use their primitive radio frequencies. Mortek worked at his station, his tentacles dancing over the controls. Channel open, Commander, broadcasting on all their communication bands. Vexithara straightened her tall frame and spoke in what she thought was a kind voice. Primitive beings of the third planet, this is Commander Vexithara of the Zephyrian Collective. We bring you greetings from the civilized galaxy. You will surrender your world to our authority so that we may help you become civilized like us. Power down all your weapons and prepare to receive our guidance. The message was sent in 12 different human languages that the collective had learned from radio signals. Vexithara expected a quick response of fear and submission. What came back was not what she expected. Unknown alien fleet, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Command. You have entered Sol system space without permission. Turn around and leave immediately, or you will be destroyed. The bridge of the Eternal Peace went quiet. Captain Zulmara's crystal body flickered with surprise. Commander, did they just threaten us? Vexithara looked confused. They must not understand. Send the message again. Make it clearer. This time, Mortek added visual displays showing the size of the collective fleet. Primitive humans, you are greatly outnumbered. We have 200 advanced warships you cannot resist. Surrender now and you will not be harmed. Admiral Chen's voice came back even stronger. This is your final warning. Leave our system now. We will defend our home. Vexithara felt something she had never felt before. Anger. These primitives were being unreasonable. Mortek, scan the system. Show me their defenses. I want to see what these Deathworld dwellers think they can fight us with. The science leader's tentacles moved quickly over his instruments. Slowly, his orange patterns turned dark blue with shock. Commander, I am detecting some unusual readings. There appear to be artificial objects throughout the system, but they are hard to identify. Show me. The main screen displayed the Sol system. It looked empty except for the planets and some small rocks. Where are their ships? Their defenses? I am not sure, Commander. The readings are very confusing. It is almost like there are ships hiding behind asteroids and moons, but that seems impossible. Why would anyone hide their fleet? Before Vexithara could answer, space around the collective fleet suddenly came alive. What had looked like empty space and floating rocks revealed itself as something else entirely. Asteroid mining stations opened up to show massive gun barrels. Ships that had been powered down and drifting like space junk suddenly lit up with engine fire. Behind the moons of several planets, entire fleets of human warships appeared. By the ancestors, whispered Captain Zulmara. They were hiding everywhere. On Earth, Admiral Chen stood in the command center deep beneath the Himalayas. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at control stations. Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in the solar system, both human and alien. All units, this is command. You are authorized to engage. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The response was immediate and devastating. Human ships did not look like the beautiful, elegant vessels of the collective. They were angular, ugly, and built for one purpose only: war. Their hulls were thick armor designed to take damage and keep fighting. Their weapons were simple but terrifyingly effective. The first salvo came from the asteroid defense platforms. Instead of energy beams like civilized species used, the humans fired chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. These kinetic rounds hit with the force of nuclear weapons but without the radiation. The collective ships had shields designed to stop energy weapons and particle beams. They were not designed to stop solid objects moving at 30% of light speed. The alien shields flickered and failed as tungsten rods punched through them like paper. Shields down on 12 ships, reported Mortek, his voice high with panic. How are they doing this? These readings are impossible. The human attack came from all directions at once. Ships emerged from hiding spots throughout the system. They did not form neat lines like civilized fleets. Instead, they moved like predators hunting prey, using every asteroid and moon for cover. Captain Rodriguez commanded the destroyer, Fist of Terra. His ship had been hiding in the shadow of Jupiter's moon Io for 3 months, waiting for this moment. When the order came to attack, he felt the familiar thrill of the hunt. All weapons, engage at will, he commanded. Remember, these aliens came here looking for a fight. Let's give them one they'll never forget. The Fist of Terra fired its main guns, 12 rail cannons that could punch through a mountain. The projectiles crossed space in seconds and slammed into a collective cruiser. The beautiful alien ship simply came apart, its hull unable to handle the kinetic impact. Across the system, similar scenes played out. Human weapons were crude but effective. While the collective had spent centuries perfecting elegant energy weapons, humans had perfected the art of throwing very large rocks very fast. Commander Vexithara watched in horror as her fleet took damage from enemies she could barely detect. How many ships do they have? Unknown, Commander. They keep appearing from new hiding places. My sensors cannot get an accurate count. At least 300, maybe more. That is impossible. Our intelligence said they were primitive. Captain Zulmara's crystal form was flashing with alarm colors. Commander, we are receiving damage reports from all sectors. The humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered. They do not form lines of battle. They attack from ambush and then retreat before we can respond. On the bridge of Arba, the human battleship Retribution, Captain Martinez watched the alien fleet try to form defensive formations. His dark eyes showed no emotion as he gave orders. All squadrons continue hit-and-run attacks. Do not engage in direct combat. Use their size against them. Make them spread out, then hit their weak spots. The human fleet moved like wolves attacking a herd of cattle. They would strike hard and fast, then disappear before the aliens could fight back. When the collective ships tried to group together for defense, the humans would attack from a different direction. This was not the kind of warfare the collective understood. For 3,000 years they had fought civilized wars with rules and honor. Fleets would meet in open space, exchange fire politely, and the side with better technology would win. Humans did not fight with honor. They fought to win. Commander, Mortek's voice was shaking now. We have lost 18 ships. 23 more are heavily damaged. The humans refuse to engage in proper battle. They keep hitting us and running away. Vexithara felt something she had never experienced before. Fear. Order all ships to retreat to the edge of the system. We need to regroup and understand what we are facing. But the humans were not going to let them retreat easily. As the collective fleet tried to pull back, human ships emerged from hiding places they had not even known existed. Attack craft launched from hidden bases on asteroids. Submarines that had been hiding in the ice of Europa's ocean broke through to the surface and launched missiles into space. They have bases everywhere, Captain Zulmara screamed. How did we not detect them? The answer was simple, though the aliens did not understand it yet. Humans had been preparing for interstellar war since the first radio telescopes detected signals from space. Every generation had built more defenses, hidden more weapons, prepared more carefully. While other species had grown soft with peace, humans had grown stronger with preparation. Admiral Chen watched the alien fleet retreat and felt no satisfaction. This was just the beginning. All units pursue but do not overextend. Stay within our defensive perimeter. Let them think they are escaping. Commander Vexithara's fleet reached the outer edge of the system, battered and confused. For the first time in collective history, they had encountered a species that not only refused to surrender but had actually hurt them in battle. Send a message to the Council, Vexithara ordered, her voice hollow. Tell them these are not primitive beings. Tell them we need reinforcements. But as she spoke, long-range sensors detected something that made her blood freeze. More human ships were moving toward them from the outer system. Ships that were larger and more heavily armed than anything they had seen so far. The humans were not just defending their home, they were hunting. The message from Commander Vexithara reached the collective council faster than light, but the words felt impossible to believe. Council leader Hyron read the report 3 times before calling an emergency session. Brothers and sisters, he announced to the assembled leaders, we have received troubling news from the primitive Deathworld. Commander Vexithara reports that her fleet has taken significant casualties. She is requesting immediate reinforcements. Council member Thylas's cloudy form shifted with confusion. Casualties? From primitives? This must be a mistake. The report is clear, Hyron said grimly. 26 ships destroyed, 47 damaged. The humans refused our offer of guidance and attacked our fleet with weapons we did not expect. Korthak's red eyes blazed with anger. Impossible! Our intelligence showed they had only primitive technology. Chemical rockets and metal projectiles. How could such weapons harm our advanced ships? Hyron activated a holographic display that showed the intercepted human communications. Perhaps we should listen to what these Deathworlders are saying to each other. The council heard Admiral Chen's voice giving orders to her fleet. All ships, continue pursuit. Do not let them regroup. Remember Protocol 7. Total engagement until enemy surrender or destruction. Then Captain Martinez's voice. Roger, command. Pursuing alien fleet beyond Jupiter orbit. These ships are fast but not built for extended combat. We can wear them down. And finally, a transmission that made the council members look at each other with growing concern. A human officer reporting, Admiral, we have confirmed alien technology recovery from the destroyed ships. Engineering teams are already analyzing their faster-than-light drives and shield generators. Estimated reverse engineering time, 6 months. The council chamber fell silent. In 3,000 years of expansion, no species had ever tried to steal collective technology during a battle. Most civilized races would not even know how to begin such a process. Council leader, said Vexilla, her forearms trembling slightly. These humans speak of war as if they understand it well. But how can primitives know warfare better than the collective? Hyron activated another recording. This one came from deep space monitoring stations that had been listening to human communications for months. We have been analyzing their radio transmissions. What we found disturbs me greatly. The hologram showed thousands of human communication channels. News broadcasts, military frequencies, entertainment programs. All of them contained references to war, conflict, and violence. Listen to this. Hiron played a human news report. Today marks the 200th anniversary of the Third World War. Historians remind us that it was this conflict that united humanity and led to the creation of the United Earth Defense Command. General Harrison stated, "We learned that peace is only possible when we are prepared for war." Another recording played, "The Mars Colonial Defense Force completed its annual war games this week. Admiral Thompson said the exercises simulated attacks from unknown alien forces and tested humanity's ability to defend multiple worlds." Simultaneously, Council member Mordes from the Syndicate species spoke up. His mechanical voice was filled with disbelief. "They conduct practice wars? For entertainment? What kind of species does this?" "A Deathworld species," answered Dr. Kellara, the collective's leading xenobiologist. She had been studying the data from the human homeworld. "Council members, we have made a terrible mistake. We assumed that intelligence on a Deathworld would be similar to intelligence on normal worlds. We were wrong." She activated her own display, showing images of Earth, massive storms that could destroy cities, volcanoes that could change the climate, earthquakes that could split continents, ice ages that lasted thousands of years. On civilized worlds, intelligence develops to solve problems through cooperation and technology. But on Deathworlds, intelligence develops to survive constant threats. These humans have been fighting for survival every day for millions of years. "But they are fighting each other now, not their environment," protested Korthak. "No," Dr. Kellara said quietly. "They are practicing. Every war they fight against each other teaches them how to fight better. Every weapon they create makes them more dangerous. Every battle they win makes them more confident." She showed them human military history, thousands of years of constant warfare, weapons that grew more deadly with each generation, strategies that became more complex and effective, a species that had turned the art of war into a science. "Look at their military doctrine," she continued. "They do not fight to be honorable. They fight to win. They do not form lines of battle like civilized species. They use deception, ambush, and misdirection. They attack weakness and avoid strength. They turn every advantage against their enemies." The council watched recordings of human military exercises, soldiers training in environments that would kill most other species, ships practicing battles in asteroid fields and gas giant storms, commanders studying thousands of years of military history to learn from every victory and defeat. "This is not primitive behavior," Dr. Kellara concluded. "This is evolution. These humans have evolved to be perfect warriors." Meanwhile, in the Sol system, the human pursuit of the alien fleet continued. Admiral Chen had deployed her forces carefully, using the solar system like a three-dimensional chessboard. "Status report," she ordered from her command center. "Alien fleet has regrouped near Neptune orbit," reported her tactical officer. "They appear to be waiting for something, possibly reinforcements. Let them wait. How many of their ships are still combat effective?" "Approximately 160 ships remain operational, but our intelligence teams have finished analyzing the wreckage from their destroyed vessels." Chen turned to face Dr. Williams, her chief science officer. "What did you find, Doctor?" Williams pulled up a holographic display of alien technology. "Their ships are more advanced than ours in some ways, Admiral. Faster than light travel, energy weapons, self-repairing hulls, but they have critical weaknesses." "Explain." "Their technology is designed for efficiency and elegance, not durability. Their shields work perfectly against energy weapons, but fail catastrophically against kinetic impacts. Their hulls are lightweight and can heal small damage, but they shatter completely when hit with sufficient force." Chen nodded grimly. "They built their ships for a civilized galaxy where everyone fights politely. We built our ships for a universe where everything is trying to kill us. There's more, Admiral. Their communications are not encrypted. They seem to assume that no one would want to listen to their conversations. We've been monitoring their messages. The hologram showed the intercepted alien communications. The humans could hear the panic and confusion in the alien voices as they tried to understand what they were facing. They keep referring to us as primitives," Dr. Williams continued. "They cannot understand how we defeated them so easily. They are requesting massive reinforcements from their home territories. Admiral Chen smiled coldly. How long until those reinforcements arrive? Based on their faster-than-light speeds, approximately 2 weeks. Perfect. That gives us time to prepare a proper welcome. Chen activated the fleet communication system. All ship commanders, this is Admiral Chen. We have 2 weeks before alien reinforcements arrive. I want every ship rearmed and refueled, every hiding place prepared, every trap set. When their friends arrive, we're going to teach them the same lesson. She paused and looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet waiting helplessly at the edge of her system. They came here thinking they would find victims. Instead, they found predators. Now they're about to learn why humans are the apex predators of a death world. On the alien flagship, Commander Vexthera studied the damage reports with growing despair. Her beautiful fleet was broken. Her crew was demoralized, and somewhere in the darkness of this strange system, human ships were hunting them like prey. Any response from the Council? She asked Captain Zulmara. Yes, Commander. They are sending 500 additional ships under Fleet Admiral Corvex. They will arrive in 14 Earth days. Vexithara felt relief for the first time since the battle began. 500 ships. Even these Deathworld predators cannot stand against such a force. But as she spoke, her sensors detected movement from the inner system. Human ships were approaching again. Not attacking this time, just watching, studying, learning. The humans were being patient. They were waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. And that terrified Vexthera more than any direct attack. These were not the actions of desperate primitives fighting for survival. These were the actions of experienced hunters who knew their prey would soon receive reinforcements. The humans were planning something terrible. Fleet Admiral Corvex arrived at the Sol system with 500 of the collective's finest warships. He was a veteran commander from the hegemony species, tall and proud with red skin covered in the scars of ceremonial duels. In 300 years of service, he had never faced serious resistance from any primitive species. Commander Vexithara, he transmitted to the remaining ships of the original fleet. Report your status. Vexthara's voice carried shame and confusion. Admiral, we have suffered casualties unlike anything in collective history. These humans fight with methods we do not understand. They use deception and ambush. They hide throughout their system like predators. Corvex studied the tactical displays with growing anger. Collective ships floating damaged and broken while primitive Deathworlders moved freely through their own system. It was an insult to 3,000 years of galactic civilization. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we are receiving a transmission from the human homeworld. They wish to speak with you directly. Put it through. Let me hear what these primitives have to say. Admiral Chen's voice filled the bridge of Corvex's flagship. Her tone was calm and professional, which somehow made her words more threatening. Attention, alien fleet. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Command. You are now outnumbered and outgunned in our home system. Surrender immediately and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Corvex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Outnumbered? Primitive, I have 700 ships. What could you possibly have that threatens such a force? More than you think. Less than you fear. But enough to finish what you started. The transmission ended, leaving Corvex staring at empty space. Around him, his bridge crew exchanged worried glances. The human admiral had not sounded like someone who was afraid or desperate. She had sounded like someone who was stating simple facts. All ships prepare for battle formation, Corvex ordered. We will advance on their homeworld and finish this quickly. These Deathworlders need to learn their place in the galaxy. The massive collective fleet began moving inward toward Earth. 700 ships in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with advanced technology. Energy shields shimmered around each vessel. Plasma cannons charged with enough power to crack planets. What happened next would be remembered by both species for generations. The humans did not meet them in open battle. Instead, the space around the alien fleet simply exploded into violence. What had appeared to be empty space was filled with hidden weapons platforms, cloaked ships, and concealed missile batteries. But this time, the human attack was different. More coordinated, more devastating. The past 2 weeks had been used to study captured alien technology and develop new weapons specifically designed to counter collective defenses. Contact! Multiple contacts! Screamed Corvex's sensor operator. Humans everywhere. How many ships do they have? The answer was both simple and terrifying. Every human ship that could fly was in the Sol system. Ships from Earth, Mars, the asteroid colonies, the outer planet research stations. Military vessels, converted civilian ships, and completely new designs built specifically for this battle. But more than that, the humans had learned from the first encounter. They had studied alien shield frequencies and developed weapons that could bypass them entirely. They had analyzed alien armor composition and created ammunition that could penetrate it. They had watched alien fleet movements and planned counters for every possible strategy. Captain Martinez, now commanding a squadron of 12 destroyers, led his ships in a coordinated strike against the alien fleet's left flank. "Remember your training," he told his captains. "These aliens think war is a gentleman's game with rules and honor. Show them what real war looks like." The human ships moved like a pack of wolves, striking hard and fast before disappearing into the maze of asteroids and space debris that filled the Sol system. Every attack was perfectly timed, every retreat carefully planned. On Earth, in the deep command bunkers, Admiral Chen watched the battle with cold satisfaction. Around her, hundreds of officers coordinated the most complex military operation in human history. "Status report," she ordered. "Alien fleet is taking heavy casualties," reported her tactical officer. "Their formation is breaking up. They're trying to retreat to the outer system. Don't let them. All reserve squadrons, engage now. Cut off their escape routes." The human reserves emerged from hiding places throughout the system. Ships that had been powered down and drifting like debris suddenly came to life. Asteroid mining stations revealed themselves as heavily armed fortresses. Even civilian vessels hastily armed with military weapons joined the attack. Fleet Admiral Corvex watched his magnificent fleet being torn apart by enemies he could barely see. How is this possible? "They are primitives! They should not have this many ships." His communications officer, her voice shaking with fear, reported the impossible truth. "Admiral, we are detecting over 2,000 human vessels. Ships of all sizes, from small fighters to massive battleships. They appear to have converted their entire civilian fleet into military vessels. 2,000 ships. That is insane. No civilized species builds so many warships." But that was exactly the point the humans were making. They were not a civilized species by collective standards. They were survivors from a death world who had learned that the only way to ensure peace was to be prepared for war. As the battle raged, something else became clear to the surviving alien crews. The humans were not just fighting to defend their homeworld. They were hunting. Every move the alien fleet made was anticipated and countered. Every attempt to regroup was met with devastating attacks. "Admiral," Captain Zulmara's voice came over the communication system from her badly damaged ship. "We must consider surrender." "We cannot win this battle." "Surrender?" Corvex's voice was filled with outrage. "The collective does not surrender to primitives." But even as he spoke, more human ships appeared from directions he had thought were empty. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a weapon, and now they were using it with deadly efficiency. Then something unprecedented happened. The human fleet began broadcasting on all collective frequencies simultaneously. Not Admiral Chen's voice this time, but thousands of human voices speaking in every alien language the collective had ever encountered. "Attention, alien invaders," the voices said in unison. "You came to our home without invitation. You demanded our surrender without cause. You brought war to our doorstep. Now you will learn what war truly means." The broadcast continued, and what the aliens heard chilled them to their cores. It was not anger or hatred in the human voices. It was something far worse: professional competence. The humans were not fighting in rage or desperation. They were fighting because this was what they had been bred for across millions of years of evolution on a world that tried to kill them every day. Fleet. Admiral Corvex realized with growing horror that his magnificent fleet was not fighting an army. It was fighting an entire species that had been shaped by their death world into the perfect warriors. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he ordered, his pride finally broken by the reality of defeat. "I must speak with her." When Admiral Chen's face appeared on his screen, Corvex saw something in her eyes that terrified him. Not cruelty or bloodlust, but the calm certainty of a predator that had cornered its prey. "We surrender," he said, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. "Please have mercy. Stop this slaughter." Admiral Chen studied him for a long moment before responding. "Fleet Admiral Corvex, you came to our system with 700 warships and demanded our surrender. You brought war to our home. Now you ask for mercy? Yes, we were wrong. We underestimated you. Please show compassion. Chen's expression did not change. Compassion is a luxury, Admiral. On Deathworlds, we cannot afford luxuries. You started this war. We will finish it. The transmission ended, and the human attack continued with renewed intensity. The aliens learned a terrible lesson that day. Mercy was something that had to be earned, not demanded. And species that attacked without provocation had not earned mercy from the children of Earth. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the war was over. Not because of negotiation or compromise, but because the Zephyrian Collective no longer existed as an independent power. What remained of their once mighty fleet was scattered across a dozen star systems. With human ships hunting down every survivor, Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, Terra's Wrath, as it entered orbit around the former collective, capital world of Zephyria Prime. Below them stretched a beautiful blue planet, with floating cities and crystal spires reaching toward the stars. It was everything Earth was not: peaceful, elegant, and safe. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we are receiving multiple surrender requests from the planetary government, the remaining fleet commanders, and something called the Emergency Civilian Council. Put the planetary governor through. The holographic image of Governor Hythek appeared before her. He was an elderly Zephyrian whose blue skin had lost its natural glow. His large black eyes were filled with fear and desperation. Admiral Chen, he said, his musical voice trembling, I formally surrender Zephyria Prime and all remaining collective territories to human authority. Please show mercy to our civilians. They have done nothing wrong. Chen studied the alien leader for a moment. In the past 6 months, she had received similar surrenders from 11 other species that had made up the collective. Each time the defeated aliens had pleaded for mercy they had not shown when they arrived at Earth. Governor Hythek, your surrender is accepted. However, there will be conditions. Anything. The governor said quickly. We will accept any terms. First, all military vessels and weapons will be turned over to human forces immediately. Second, all faster-than-light technology will be shared with human scientists. Third, detailed records of every species in your former territory will be provided to our intelligence services. The governor nodded frantically. Yes, all of this can be arranged. What else do you require? Chen's expression remained cold and professional. Fourth, human colonies will be established on strategically important worlds throughout former collective space. These colonies will serve as monitoring stations to ensure compliance with the peace treaty. Monitoring stations? The governor's voice cracked with fear. You mean occupation forces? I mean what I said, Governor. Monitoring stations. As long as your people follow the terms of surrender, these will remain peaceful research and diplomatic outposts. If your people decide to rebuild military forces or threaten human interests, Chen let the threat hang in the air. What the aliens did not understand, and what terrified them more than direct threats, was the calm efficiency with which humans had dismantled their civilization. There had been no massacres, no destruction of cities, no genocide. Instead, the humans had simply removed the collective's ability to make war. Every military shipyard had been captured or destroyed. Every weapons factory had been converted to produce civilian goods under human supervision. Every military academy had been closed and its instructors relocated to non-sensitive positions. The humans had not conquered the collective. They had neutered it. Captain Martinez, now promoted to Commodore, commanded the human garrison on the former collective military world of Kronos Station. The massive space station had once been the training center for the galaxy's most elite military officers. Now it was a human naval base. Status report, he ordered his staff as they gathered for their weekly briefing. All former collective military personnel have been processed and relocated, reported his intelligence officer. Those with clean records have been allowed to return to civilian life. Former officers are restricted to non-military employment and regular check-ins with our monitoring teams. What about the weapons stockpiles? Completely secured. All plasma weapons, energy shields, and faster-than-light drives have been transported to human facilities for study. The aliens are left with basic defensive systems only. Martinez nodded with satisfaction. And the monitoring network? Operational across all former collective space. We have human outposts on 43 worlds with early warning sensors throughout the region. If any of these species tries to rebuild military forces, we'll know about it within days. The monitoring network was perhaps the most frightening aspect of human occupation to the former collective species. The humans had not just defeated them in battle, They had made it impossible for them to threaten anyone ever again. On the former collective research world of Mentis, Dr. Sarah Kim worked in laboratories that had once belonged to alien scientists. Around her, human researchers studied technologies that were thousands of years more advanced than anything Earth had possessed just months before. "Have you made progress on the faster-than-light communication system?" she asked her team. "Yes, Doctor. We've managed to reverse engineer the basic principles. With some modifications, we should be able to build a communication network that covers the entire galaxy." Dr. Kim smiled as she reviewed the data. The humans were not just occupying former collective space, they were improving it. Human engineering, shaped by the harsh requirements of Deathworld survival, was making alien technology more robust and reliable. "What about the terraforming technology?" "That's more interesting," replied her assistant. "The collective used it to make worlds more comfortable and beautiful. We're modifying it to make worlds more defensible, thicker atmospheres to disperse energy weapons, stronger magnetic fields to deflect particle beams, underground tunnel networks for protection. The humans were turning paradise worlds into fortresses, and the former collective species could only watch helplessly." Back on Earth, in the deep command centers beneath the Himalayas, Admiral Chen reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Human colonies were thriving on dozens of former collective worlds. Human technology was advancing rapidly thanks to captured alien knowledge. Human influence was spreading to species that had never even heard of the collective. "Admiral," her aide reported, "we're receiving new contact requests from 17 different species beyond former collective space. They want to establish diplomatic relations." "What kind of diplomatic relations?" "Trade agreements mostly, but also mutual defense pacts. Word has spread about what happened to the collective. Other species want to make sure they stay on our good side." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy was learning the lesson that the collective had learned too late. It was better to be humanity's friend than its enemy. "What about the former collective species? Any signs of rebellion or resistance?" "None, Admiral. They seem genuinely terrified of provoking us again. Most of them are focusing on rebuilding their civilian economies and staying as far away from military activities as possible." That was exactly what Chen had hoped for. The humans had not set out to conquer the galaxy, but they had made it clear that unprovoked aggression would not be tolerated. The collective had learned this lesson at the cost of their civilization. On Zephyria Prime, Governor Hythek stood in his office looking out at the human research station that had been built in orbit around his world. The station looked nothing like the elegant structures his people built. It was angular, functional, and bristling with sensors that monitored everything that happened on the planet below. "Governor," his aide said quietly, "the human colony ship will arrive next week. They are requesting landing coordinates for their settlement." Hythek sighed deeply. "Give them whatever they want. The best land, the most beautiful locations. Make sure they have everything they need." "Yes, Governor. Should we prepare a welcoming ceremony?" "No. The humans do not seem interested in ceremonies. They are interested in results." As night fell over Zephyria Prime, Hythek could see lights from human ships patrolling the system. They moved constantly, never following predictable patterns, always watching for threats. Even in peace, the humans remained vigilant. The former collective species had learned to live with a simple truth. They now existed under the protection of apex predators from a death world. As long as they remained peaceful and cooperative, the humans would leave them alone to rebuild their lives. But if they ever again threatened unprovoked aggression against anyone, the children of Earth would remind them why Deathworld species never forgot, never forgave, and never stopped hunting. The galaxy had entered a new age, an age where peace was maintained not by diplomatic agreements or mutual understanding, but by the simple knowledge that somewhere among the stars, humanity was watching. And humanity always remembered who threw the first punch. In the deep archives of human command centers, detailed records were kept of every species' behavior, every world's capabilities, and every potential threat to human interests. The humans had learned from their death world that information was survival, and survival was everything. The collective had pleaded for mercy, but they had received something else instead, a lesson that would echo through the galaxy for generations. The lesson was simple. If you bring war to a death world species, you will learn what war really means, and the children of Earth had taught that lesson very, very well.